Hello and welcome. Today, we are taking a journey to India's maritime gateways. These are the powerful, bustling engines that connect a nation of over 1 billion people to the rest of the world. So, let's dive right in. Seriously, just think about it for a second. That phone you're holding, the gas in your car, maybe even the coffee you had this morning, how did it all get to you? Well, you can bet that for most of it, the journey started or ended at a massive seaport. Exactly. These ports are the powerful and often totally unseen engines of our global economy. They're not just dots on a map. They are the absolute heart of the constant flow of goods we all rely on every single day. So in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on these critical hubs. We're going to take a tour all around the Indian coastline to see which ports handle what and really get a feel for why each one is so incredibly important. Now, India has literally hundreds of ports, but we're going to focus on the big ones, the main event. These are the 13 major ports that form the absolute backbone of the country's maritime trade. You could call them the heavy lifters of the entire Indian economy. And before we start our tour, let's just make sure we're on the same page with a key term. When we say maritime gateway, what do we mean? Well, it's pretty simple. It's a major seaport. It's the main front door for a country's trade, where all the imports come in and all the exports go out. All right, our journey begins on India's western coast, right along the Arabian Sea. This is an incredibly busy and historically vital stretch of water, and it's home to some of the nation's absolute biggest and most crucial ports. So, here's the game plan. We're going to start way up north in Gujarat and work our way all the way down the coast to Kerala. As you can see, we'll be hitting the major players like Dindi Dal, the Mumbai ports, and wrapping up in Cochin. Let's get going. First up, Gujarat, which is a real powerhouse of maritime trade. You've got Deen Dayal Port, you might notice Kandla, which is an absolute giant when it comes to liquid cargo like crude oil and petroleum. And right nearby is Mundra, one of the busiest ports in the entire country, handling just staggering amounts of coal and containers. Now moving south into Maharashtra, we find two giants practically side by side. Mumbai Port is one of India's oldest, and it handles a whole mix of different cargo. But for modern trade, the real star of the show is Jawaharlal Nehru Port, or JNPT. And notice its specialty. It is laser-focused on containers. We're talking electronics, cars, all the finished goods. That makes it a massive hub. Next stop, Goa, where Mormugao Port is a key export hub for one of India's most important resources, iron ore. Then, a little further south in Karnataka, you have New Mangalore. It also handles iron ore, but it's famous for shipping out another product you might have enjoyed this morning, coffee. And our final stop on the western coast is Cochin, down in Kerala. You know, true to the region's incredible heritage, this port is a major gateway for high-value goods like spices and seafood, connecting India's rich agricultural landscape to dinner tables all over the world. Okay, now let's round the southern tip of India and start heading up the eastern coast, along the Bay of Bengal. This side of the country has its own unique strategic importance, and as you'll see, a very different mix of specialized cargo. So on this leg of the journey, we're kicking things off in Tamil Nadu with its 3 major ports. Then we'll head north through huge industrial hubs like Visakhapatnam and Paradeep, finishing up at the historic port complex in West Bengal. We start in Tamil Nadu, which is unique because it has 3 major ports. First, there's V.O. Chidambaram Port in Tuticorin, which is vital for things like salt and textiles. Then you have Chennai, often called the Detroit of India, which is a massive hub for automobile exports. And just north of that, Kamaraja Port supports that industry while also handling enormous amounts of coal and natural gas. As we head up the coast, Visakhapatnam and Paradeep are basically the gateways to India's industrial heartland. They function as these enormous funnels for the raw materials. We're talking iron ore, coal, and crude oil that fuel the nation's factories. Our eastern coast tour wraps up at the historic Syama Prasad Mukherjee Port, which is actually a complex that includes the docks at both Kolkata and Haldia. Being one of India's oldest river ports, it has this incredibly rich history of exporting traditional goods like jute and ghee. Now, for our final stop, we're doing something a little different. We're leaving the mainland entirely. We're heading out into the Bay of Bengal to an outpost that plays a very distinct, but just as vital, role in India's maritime network. And here it is, Port Blair, in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Look, this port isn't about massive industrial cargo. No, its job is much more fundamental. It is the literal lifeline for the islands. It brings in all the essential goods for the people who live there, and it supports the totally unique economy based on tourism and seafood. So, we've now toured all 13 major ports. We've seen what makes each one tick. Now it's time to zoom out, get the big picture, and see how they all fit together to form the lifelines of an entire nation. This chart really sums it up perfectly. You can see how the two coasts complement each other. To put it simply, you can think of the western coast as the dominant hub for energy like petroleum, chemicals, and finished container goods. The eastern coast, on the other hand, is a powerhouse for raw materials, ores and minerals, and a major export gateway for India's massive automotive industry. You know, there's a quote that just perfectly captures what we've been talking about. If trade is the lifeblood of a nation, then these 13 major ports are the main arteries, constantly pumping goods, resources, and economic vitality all through the country. So, if there's one key takeaway here, it's this. These gateways do so much more than just move boxes and barrels. They connect entire industries, they create countless jobs, and they link every single one of us to the vast global economy. They are absolutely fundamental to shaping India's present and its future. And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In a world where supply chains are always shifting and new economic challenges pop up, the roles of these ports are constantly evolving. So the real question for the future is, which of these gateways will step up to define India's next great chapter in global trade? Thanks for joining me on this journey.